Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice radio, so today we're going to be looking at a rather cute water Pokemon. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing our look at all of the good cards from Ultra Prism. We are going to be looking today at a little bit of the old Floatzel. Floatzel is adorable, but also the Floatzel from Ultra Prism could be a pretty fun card, so it's time to have a gander. Now, being a water Pokemon does give it many advantages. One of my favourites is just Brooklet Hill. Brooklet Hill is great. It allows you to search for a basic water Pokemon or fighting Pokemon and pop it onto your bench. That sounds like an awful lot of fun to me. It just gives you so much more consistency here. Now, there are some healing options. There's Lana that heals 50 damage from each of your Pokemon that has any water energy attached, and there's Manaphy that once per turn will heal 20 damage from one of your Pokemon that has any water energy attached. Although, I should remind you here that, Floatzel does not have that much HP. Of course, when we're talking water Pokemon, we've also got to give a quick shout out to Aqua Patch. Aqua Patch is incredibly cool because it allows you to attach a water energy from your discard to one of your benched water Pokemon. So we've got some advantages. The question is, could this be a good Pokemon? And the answer is yes. And it could also be incredibly annoying. So looking at the basics here, 100 HP is quite low for a stage 1 if we're perfectly honest. Retreat cost of 1 is pretty low, so we're happy. And weakness to grass is actually alright. You have a weakness to Tapu Bulu, but Tapu Bulu's either doing 60 using just the little horn attack, or it's getting a one-hit KO anyway. And it's weak to Golisopod, but again, Golisopod either does 60 with first impression, because it didn't come active that turn, or it does 240 with first impression, which means it would be getting a KO whether or not you had weakness. So the weakness here, actually not terribly important. So, the first attack here is the one that I really do like, although the second attack is good, we'll get to that. 1 water energy, 30 damage. Flip a coin. If heads, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. And we've seen Pokemon like this before. You attack and you flip a coin, and if heads, you get immunity the following turn. The thing is, this is much better than if your opponent attacks, they have to flip a coin to attack. Because you make sure you set it on your turn, which means you get to use the Victini from Guardians Rising. This means that when you flip a coin for an attack, like this one, if it comes up tails and you're not happy with that, that's okay, you can just flip again. Although this ability does not stack, it is you get 1 reflip, and if it's not what you want, gutted, go home, cry, try again, come back later. But don't cry, it's Christmas, let's be happy about this. So you basically got a 75% chance of having immunity the following turn. Now there's plenty of things your opponent can do about this. Firstly, they can play a Guzma, but they could also play an escape rope. Now, I know escape rope doesn't see a huge amount of play at the moment, but I think escape rope is about to see a big increase in play, and the reason is Glaceon GX. Glaceon GX is also coming out in Ultra Prism. It has a ridiculous ability that says that any GXs and EXs on your opponent's side of the field do not have abilities if you're in the active, if Glaceon GX is in the active, which means your opponent could not, use a Tapu Lele, for instance, or Volcanion decks can't be using Steam Up. So I'm actually a big fan of playing Escape Rope in decks in the future. If people play stuff like Guzma, like Escape Rope, they will then be able to force one of your other Pokemon in the active, and off you go. Of course, if you're feeling incredibly lucky, what you could do is just have 1 Floatzel and not have a bench Pokemon. Your opponent cannot play a Guzma or an Escape Rope to force one of your other Pokemon from the bench into the active if you don't have any other Pokemon on your bench. Now, this is an incredibly risky strategy. Because firstly, if you hit a Tails, even with Victini, 1 in 4 turns you should hit a Tails, your opponent can attack, you've got 100 HP, you'll probably lose. Secondly, your opponent could play a Pokemon Ranger, but as often as I mention Pokemon Ranger in my videos, I always have to follow it up by saying that literally nobody is playing Pokemon Ranger at the moment. Okay, fine, that's not the point. The point is, it could work. And it could be fun. And if you're in absolute desperation mode, you can just sit there having immunity every single turn while your opponent can't hit you. And the great thing is they've got to switch your active. They can play an Ace Roller to heal their active to pick it up. But if they change their active, that doesn't do anything. You've still got the same Floatzel in the active and that Floatzel's still got immunity. Your opponent has to change your active, not theirs. Now, of course, at this stage you might be thinking, I remember you saying something like this in a recent video, Ross, and I did. When I talked about the Wailord from Guardians Rising, we had a very similar discussion. I'll pop a link to that one in the description if I remember, it's pretty cool. Here's the thing though. Wailord is for free energy. Now, Wailord has 200 HP, a lot more bulk, and if you flip a double Tails with Wailord, there is a decent chance you will be able to survive a hit. By the way, if you do survive a hit, remember that you've got stuff like Lana and Manaphy. But Wailord can take a hit, whereas Floatzel probably can't. But Floatzel does this for a single energy attachment, whereas Wailord does it for free energy and isn't even able to use double colourless energy, so it's got to have 3 separate energy attachments. Now we've got an option. I'm not going to stop you making a Floatzel Wailord deck. That could be fun. But please don't think this is just another Wailord. It's not. It is a lower HP single energy Wailord. Now, the 30 damage per turn is quite low. With a choice band, it goes up to 60. You could even, if you really want, go Professor Kukui here, although you couldn't do that every turn, and it would go up to 80. But honestly, this isn't an I'm going to do lots of damage and win kind of attack. This is a ha ha ha, you can't touch what you can't see kind of attack. But there is a second attack on Floatzel here that I like quite a bit as well. For 1 water, 1 colourless energy, 80 damage, and you discard a water energy attached to Floatzel. So you could here actually do quite a lot more damage. If you're sitting there with 1 energy doing your first attack over and over and over again, I assume it's going to be called agility, these kind of attacks usually are. What you can then do is attach a second energy, discard it and do 80 damage, and the great thing about that is that you've actually still got an energy on there to use agility, which is what it's probably going to be called, the following turn. How cool is that? Let's not forget we still got Aqua Patch, so we can get 2 energy on there quite quickly, and I would be remiss at this stage if I did not mention counter energy. You could have 0 energy on your Floatzel, and as long as you're behind on prizes, you attach a counter energy and you're off. And you're doing plenty of damage because you've got 2 energy on there and you're doing 80. And here you're actually hitting the numbers very nicely. At a choice band, you're doing 110. Doubled with weakness is 220. So your main water weak Pokemon like Volcanion, like Turtonator, will be going down. Now I know Turtonator with a Fighting Fury bout actually has 230 and would survive a hit. But then you can use Field Blower to take a mid-turn KO. It's not exactly the end of the world. This is not an attack we're going to be using all the time. This is an, I've been using agility for a while, I've been slowing the game down, now I can take a key KO, I can knock out my opponent's main attacker, or I can win the game, or something like that. This is an attack where you need a KO this turn. In it comes, you're doing well. Mostly, Floatzel is a Pokemon where you sit in the active, using Victini, flipping coins, and off you go. Now, at this stage, I should give a quick correction of something I said, or clarification, really, earlier in the video. If you've only got a Floatzel and you don't put anything else on your bench, so your opponent doesn't play a Guzma, then you can't have a Victini on the bench, and you've only actually got a 50% chance of getting immunity every turn. So if that's the way you really want to go, you have got to be feeling incredibly lucky. Having said that, for all my bad luck at tournaments, and there's been many, I did once win a game by hitting 7 heads on Bubble in a row with Froakie. but I still went 2-2 because I don't like Greninja as a deck. That's the first and last time I ever played Greninja in a tournament. Back to Floatzel, I'm giving it a nice solid 3 Wassies. I like this card. I don't think it's going to be a powerhouse deck, but if you want a really fun deck to play around with online, Floatzel's your guy. If you want to take a fun deck to League to have a good time, Floatzel's your gal. I think this could be an awful lot of fun. I don't know if it's going to be a powerhouse deck. Probably not. But even so, I think it could be fun. I think 3 Wassies is fair. And I'm the one giving it a score, and I feel comfortable with 3 Wassies. But as always, if you disagree with me, if you're saying, Ross, 3 Wassies, come on. Well, that's what the comment section is there for. Go nuts! But remember the rule. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, you can do so by going to patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far, the most important thing as always, especially around the holiday season, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.